At the monthly town hall, my director pointed at me and laughed. She thinks she deserves a promotion because she shows up on time and smiles. Goo. Everyone awkwardly chuckled while he added, maybe we should promote her to coffee runner. I swallowed my anger, stayed professional, and that night, sent an anonymous tip to the board detailing his hidden HR complaints. Within weeks, he was publicly replaced, no announcement made. This happened last year, but it's burned into my memory like it happened yesterday. I work in city government in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Not in some high-power position or anything. I'm basically admin support for the planning department. It's the kind of job where no one notices you until you mess up. Except I never messed up. I was early every day. I stayed late. I did my job without being asked twice. If you needed extra hands or someone to help with paperwork, I was that person. For 3 years I stayed in my role, hoping that hard work would pay off. I wasn't trying to be a manager. I just wanted a bump to senior admin. A little raise. A little acknowledgement. I followed the process, submitted my application, met the deadline, and waited. Then the town hall meeting came around. These town halls are monthly, held in the community building near downtown. Locals show up, board, retirees, council members, even the mayor sometimes. Our department always attends. Our director, Scott Langford, liked to take center stage. He's one of those guys who talks a little too loud, laughs at his own jokes, and acts like he's still in a college fraternity. That night I was standing near the back of the hall, next to our little folding table with reports and charts. Scott was up front, going over our department's latest projects. It was the usual permits, zoning updates, budget stuff. Then Councilwoman Greer asked if there were any staff updates or promotions. Scott laughed. Not politely. He actually laughed. Then he turned and pointed straight at me. She thinks she deserves a promotion because she shows up on time and smiles. Cute. The room got quiet. A few people gave that awkward, forced laugh like they didn't know if they were supposed to. Then he added, maybe we should promote her to coffee runner. I just stood there. Couldn't move. Couldn't speak. My face felt like it was on fire. My hands shook, but I forced myself to stay still, professional. I didn't cry. I didn't walk out. I stood there and took it. After the meeting, I packed up the table and went home. I didn't say anything to Scott or anyone else. But that night, I sat in the dark in my living room and stared at the wall for a long time. Then I started remembering. Over the past year, I'd seen some things that didn't sit right. Emails that got forwarded to me by mistake. Files that landed in my inbox when HR systems glitched. I remembered one especially. It was a complaint about Scott. A formal complaint. It was months ago, but I remembered the name of the employee, the way it got labeled resolved, even though it sounded serious. That's when it hit me. I didn't have to yell. I didn't need revenge that would make a scene. I just needed the truth. I spent the next few days digging. Our system isn't hard to navigate if you know what you're looking for. I pulled old files, email threads, HR docs that hadn't been locked down. There were more complaints too from women in other departments, and one that looked like it got completely buried. One file showed a closed-door disciplinary meeting that wasn't logged officially. It was clear Scott had been protected by someone, but I knew if I gave the right people the right info, that protection wouldn't hold. So I made a new email account. Private. Then I wrote out everything. I attached files, screenshots, timelines. I included just enough facts to back up the claims, but nothing that could trace back to me. Subject: Director Scott Langford. Pattern of misconduct in HR violations. Sent it to every member of the city board. Sent it to HR. Sent it to the mayor's office. Then I waited. No one responded, of course. Not to me. But within 2 weeks, things started changing. Scott stopped making jokes. He started missing meetings. He looked nervous when he walked into the office. The swagger was gone. Then one Monday morning I walked into the office and his nameplate was gone. His office empty. His calendar wiped.
No gudbie. No explanaschen.
He was just gone. People whispered. Someone said he resigned. Someone else said, health issues. But no one said it to my face. I knew why he was gone. So did a few others. And while I never got the promotion, things changed around me. People spoke to me differently. No more jokes. No more smirks. Just respect. He made me feel small in front of the whole town. Now he doesn't even exist on the staff list. After Scott disappeared, the office felt different. Quieter at first. Almost too quiet. The new interim director, Melissa Cates, was polite. She kept her head down and didn't make waves. She was a finance person, not planning. And it was clear she didn't want the job long term. But people liked her because she wasn't Scott. First, I thought that was the end of it. Then a month later, I noticed something strange. One afternoon while filing reports, I saw someone from IT standing in the admin hallway. Jared, the guy who usually handles hardware setups. He was at my computer. Problem? I asked. He looked startled. Just doing some updates. I hadn't put in a ticket. And nothing on my machine needed updating. That night I changed all my passwords. A week later I got called into a meeting with HR. Not the normal lady. Either this time it was someone from the legal team. A woman named Rebecca. She asked me a lot of vague questions. Have you ever accessed HR complaint files outside your job responsibilities? Do you know who may have sent a recent anonymous complaint to the board? Have you ever used a third-party email to contact senior staff? I kept my face neutral and answered every question with the same line. I follow department policy and only access files assigned to me. They let me go without saying much. But something was off. 2 days later, I got a written warning. Improper access to administrative systems. No proof, no real explanation, just vague language. I knew what this was. Someone was digging. Someone wanted to find out who exposed Scott. And they were narrowing in on me. But they couldn't prove anything. I'd been careful. I never opened files without cause. I never signed my name to anything. And I used my own laptop offsite on a secure connection when I sent the tip. Still, the pressure built. A few coworkers stopped talking to me. Some were friendly before, but now they barely looked my way. I caught whispers in the break room. She's probably the one who sent it. Careful around her. It hurt. I wasn't trying to take anyone down. I just wanted the truth to come out. But this town runs on secrets and whispers, and people don't like it when you shake things up. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. One morning I found a letter on my desk.
No envelope.
Just a single piece of paper folded in half. On the front, written in pen. Careful who you think is on your side. Inside was a copy of one of the files I'd sent the HR complaint about Scott. My version. With the file name I used. Someone had it. Someone inside. I felt my stomach drop. I stared at that piece of paper for a long time, heart racing. Then I calmly folded it, slipped it in my purse and walked to the bathroom. I locked myself in a stall and just sat there breathing hard. This wasn't over. Not even close. Someone knew. And they wanted me to know they knew. After that note showed up, I knew I was being watched. I stopped using my work computer for anything other than basic tasks. I kept my head down, didn't talk to anyone unless I had to, and made sure I left right at 5 p.m. every day. No more staying late. No more friendly chats. I started keeping a burner phone in my purse. Paranoid? Maybe. But something about that note felt too personal. This wasn't just someone trying to scare me, it was someone close. And then came the second shock. Melissa Cates, the interim director, called me into her office one afternoon. She looked nervous, like she hadn't slept. She shut the door behind me. I shouldn't be doing this, she said quietly. But you deserve to know. She slid a folder across her desk. It was marked confidential, but I opened it anyway. Inside were printouts of emails, ones I hadn't seen before. Ones between Scott Langford and someone on the city board. Real cozy conversations. The kind that weren't supposed to exist. They were about me. She's been poking around systems above her pay grade, one message said. Another. She's a threat if she ever connects the dots, keep her busy, distract her. And then the worst one. Take care of her. Quietly. My hands were shaking. Melissa leaned forward. I found these on a shared drive Scott forgot to lock down. Before he left. They were trying to get rid of you even before the town hall incident. I looked up at her, trying to stay calm. Who's they? She hesitated. Then she said it. Councilman Brett Hensley. My heart dropped. Brett Hensley had been on the city board for over a decade. He was one of the people I sent the anonymous complaint to. I assumed he helped push Scott out. Turns out he helped protect him. Scott was covering for Brett, Melissa said. Those HR complaints? Some of them were about Brett. Scott filtered them, buried them before they hit the board's records. It wasn't just a few bad jokes at work. It was worse. I couldn't breathe. I'd uncovered just the surface of it. I thought Scott was the rot, but he was just shielding someone higher up. And now Brett was looking for who'd kicked over the rocks. Melissa warned me to be careful, then told me she was resigning. Said she'd done what she could. 2 days later she was gone. Just like Scott. And I was alone again. Except now I knew too much. I had no allies. No protection. And a city board member who thought I was a threat. After Melissa left, things got worse fast. HR pulled me in again. This time, they claimed there were concerns about my performance. They said someone filed a complaint against me for creating a hostile work environment. They didn't say who. I already knew. It was Brett. He wasn't going to fire me outright. No, that would make noise. Instead, he was trying to push me out quietly like he did with others. He wanted me scared, cornered, alone. But I'd had enough. I went home that night, opened up my laptop and started digging again. Not just into Scott or Brett but into everything. Public records, city finances, internal emails. I even started going through council meeting footage. That's when I found it. A zoning approval from last year. One Brett pushed through fast too fast. A property on the edge of town was rezoned for community development. But no one ever built anything there. I drove by it myself. Just weeds and a padlocked gate. But the land wasn't empty. It was sold weeks later. To a company with a name I didn't recognize. So I searched that company name. It was fake. A shell company. Owned by another company. That one. Registered to an address in Little Rock. And the person listed on the filing? A woman named Cheryl Hensley. Brett's wife. He had used city influence to rezone land, get it sold cheap under the radar, and flipped it through a fake company registered to his wife. Classic money laundering. Public theft. I printed everything. Made a full report. Attached documents, maps, transaction dates, meeting transcripts, everything tied up in a neat little folder. Then I called in sick the next day. Instead, I mailed 5 thick envelopes, one to a local news reporter who covered government fraud, one to the state attorney's office, and the rest to 3 honest council members I had met at past meetings. I didn't include a letter.
No signature.
Just the truth. Within a week, the story exploded. The headline read, City Councilman accused of land scheme fraud investigation underway. Brett denied everything at first. Called it a coordinated attack by a disgruntled employee. But the paper had receipts, public record filings, bank transfers, even a photo of Cheryl signing papers at a title office. It all came crashing down fast. He was forced to step down within 2 weeks. Then came the internal probe. State auditors came in, interviewed everyone. Turns out Brett and Scott had covered up not 1, but 5 HR complaints. All serious. All buried. I watched from my desk as board members came in and out of closed-door meetings. I was never asked to speak. Never named. Just the quiet admin who kept her head down and did her job. But I saw Scott's name get scrubbed off old documents. I saw Brett's office cleaned out by someone who looked like a cop. And 2 months later, I got called into the mayor's office. Not HR. Not legal. The mayor. She looked at me and said, "You've been through a lot." I didn't answer. She slid a new contract across the desk. Senior Administrative Coordinator. Full benefits. 18% raise. I signed it without a word. I wish I could say I felt proud. Or happy. But really I just felt tired. Tired of playing nice. Tired of smiling. Tired of pretending hard work is always enough. They laughed at me in front of the whole town. Now one's disgraced, one's vanished, and I'm still here. I didn't win by shouting. I won by staying silent long enough for the truth to do the talking. And I never said a damn word.